Stokes County Board of Commissioner meeting with the Stokes County Planning and Community Development Department zoning agenda at 6 p.m. on June 4, 2024. At this time, if we stand and Commissioner Wood will give the invocation.
Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the freedom we have to get together and have meetings like this. Give us wisdom, watch over us, and give us a safe trip home. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amber, where's the disclosure of conflict of interest?
I can just read it off if you
Okay,
want to,
okay.
but I don't have it. I'm sorry, Eric prepared the agenda for the planning meeting, so I don't. Before moving further, does any commissioner have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for tonight, or one that may be perceived as a conflict of interest?
No, we don't. Nope. Is there any motions before we approve the agenda? Eric?
Actually, we have a request for a continuance for item number 2. If you'd like for me to read that at this time.
Go ahead.
Okay. On planning case item 24-371, at this time I'd like to ask for a continuance of this case until August the 6th in order to hear back from the School of Government and legal counsel prior to the public hearing occurring.
I'll make a motion that we approve the motion as read.
Second, and I want to note on the record that this does not give advantage to for or against.
That is
Anybody?
totally correct. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. So that amendment will be a continuance to a further date. This time we'll have a public hearing. And the first, well, I guess we can do all the requests at one time. Well, first of all, I guess, is there anybody listed that wants to talk at the public hearing? That'd be the easiest way.
There wasn't any on the sheet. Did anybody want to speak? I'll make sure. Did anybody want to speak?
This time he just takes up with it. Bring it up a case by case.
Sir, come on up.
My name is Larry Nelson, and my son has a 8.8 acre tract about a mile south of Pinnacle. And what he's wanting to do is build a house for his mother and I on it. And my understanding is right now you have to have a survey for the tract. The tract where he's wanting to build it, it's already been approved for the perk test, and we just want to do away with the surveying because it's going to be his house. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, he has other tracts close to that, but it's not accessible to the King City water system.
So this is on our rezoning agenda, right?
It is. That's correct.
So
What item is it?
It's going to be item number 3. Mr. Nelson, is it okay for me to add? Is that acceptable to the board?
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably need help.
Okay, not a problem. Mr. Nelson and I have talked on several occasions about his property. What he's wanting to do is his son has a home already on the 8 acres.
True.
Correct? And what he would like to do is have a home on on the acreage with his son, which is totally understandable at this time. Right now, the way the ordinance reads, he would have to actually survey out a piece of land, minimum size of an acre, in order to be able to have the house next to the same property as his son. Okay, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and you and I have spoken on this several times. With the accessory dwelling ordinance, it would allow for him to have both residents on that piece of property, on that 8 acres, without actually having to cut that acre out.
So yes, that's your recommendation is for us to approve that.
Well, it would be in item 3. Yeah,
If we approve what you put in item 3 tonight, then he could do that.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a change to the,
It'd be an amendment to the ordinance.
what do you call it, the,
Zoning ordinance.
yeah, to the zoning ordinance. Just a second. It's a change, what you're basically doing is changing the rules for accessory dwellings.
That is correct.
And we're going, and this would kind of relax that requirement that we have to, that you normally have to do where you survey out and make a separate track, I guess it would be.
That is correct.
Oh,
Are we
okay.
relaxing for this specific instant, or are we changing the whole shooting match for the county?
Well,
Shooting
like I
match.
said, if you, and of course, it's at the board's leisure as to which item they would like to take a look at first, but, basically what it does, I have a lot of calls for this type of thing. People, whether it be a son in this case that he wants to be with, some people have called and asked, about having their grandparents there on their property, that type of thing, having a smaller home or something of that nature out back. They may have 10 acres, they may have 100 acres, they may have just an acre. And the problem we're running into is the fact that right now, you can only have one dwelling, whether it's 1 acre or 100 acres. Now, they can have an accessory mobile home, and they can have 2 accessory mobile homes, but it has to be 10 acres or more. And so that's where we are right now with it. What this ordinance would do would allow an accessory dwelling on the property in the residential zoning districts.
But how do we,
How you want it in a motion?
Well, we need to
Well,
figure
again,
out
it's
how,
up
we
to
need to
you.
know the
If you'd
impact
like
of
to
it.
get to that
Yeah.
item, I could read the entire ordinance. as I have
Yeah,
it
let's just wait
drafted.
till we get to that item.
That might be the best thing.
okay, all right, yeah, all right, okay. All right, so we're gonna move on then. We'll just pick discussion up then where, when we get to the item, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Don't go nowhere, you can have a seat. Yeah. All right. So Eric, do you want to read the rezoning request, the first zoning request? I think it's 24-405, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So this request is by applicant Greg and Katie Knights to rezone approximately 5.58 plus or minus acres from residential agricultural to highway business at 1664 East Old Phillips Road, Pinnacle, North Carolina, parcel number 5983049068. This request is for a building for fabrication services for the building industry. In my comments, this rezoning from R8 highway business for the expansion of a new building for fabrication services for the building industry located at this address. I see no problem with this request in that the expansion of the property for a building for fabrication services would be beneficial to the county, add a service for businesses nearby and industry. The proposal supports the Stokes County 2035 Comprehensive Plan because it supports the business-friendly initiative. The proposal provides potential tax base increase due to the expansion of commercial property And I believe, in my opinion, as planning director, that it is reasonable and in the public interest.
Anybody got any questions or?
So are we expanding a building that's already being used for this purpose?
There's a building currently on the property that he utilizes for the service.
30 by 50 building.
Yeah, would you
But
like
that
to?
isn't preside, yeah.
Yeah, come on up and speak if you.
Hello. We have a building right at the base of that 5 acres, which backs up to 52. So the building's very close to Highway 52 now. The building now I just use for warehousing, but not production. The one we have in Mount Airy we use for small production, but we're looking for something a little bit bigger. And after looking quite a bit, my daughter and I both said we had originally taken a larger track and split it. And the lower track is the 5 acres. Then there's still an upper track of 3 acres before you get up to anyone else's property. Matter of fact, the next property up from us is a quarter-mile away is a farm, and they own all the woods coming to our property. So it's a private area. Currently, there's that building that I just warehouse materials in, not many materials at all, but it would be a new structure directly next to it. And when I came in originally with Eric, he guided me through this process because of the size of the building. Right now, it's a 30 by 50 that I built 4 or 5 years ago. The new one's going to be larger. It's going to be closer to like a 50 by 100, a little bit bigger facility. And that is where we'll do welding. We do welding for trusses. I don't know if you have any pictures of it, but we weld trusses. And I have contracts with Best Buy, Target to do shelving, stockroom shelving. So we weld stockroom shelving and stuff like that. We bring materials in once a week, and then a couple times a week might go out, we hope, if business is good. But just the new facility, instead of going to hunt something to rent, we just thought, just putting a little larger facility at the bottom there. It's quiet. It's all the way at the end of East Old Phillips Road, right up to 52. So I only have one neighbor down there, Robert, good friend of mine. But that's what we're looking to
No
do.
complaints from the neighbor or anything
No,
like that?
we sent all the letters out. I see them all the time, even the folks with the farm. We help each other out. They ran out of water, came down, got my water, that type of thing. They're all good people. And they know what we're intending to do. And it's not a big business. We started it. We actually have several businesses. We own a restaurant in Mount Airy, but we started this with our in-laws about 2 years ago. And the one we work out of now is small also. It's about a 30 by 50. So we're just looking to get a little bit bigger space, and then we'll probably do the bigger trusses there and then keep our racking welding over in Mount Airy.
Bring everything over to Stokes County.
Well, it might happen eventually. I mean, we'll see how we grow. If you saw the end of the road, it's a very, very quiet end of the road. It ends down there. Otherwise, we wouldn't really have the thought of let's work it down there. We don't want to get too crazy. We don't want 5 buildings up down there and everything else and stuff. But when I went to Eric, I told him we wanted to do a bigger size than the one we got down there. Just because it wouldn't do us any good. We're already in a smaller one. So if we do a bigger one and then just kind of keep it under roof there, that's all we're looking for.
Did you have a public information meeting on it? Did anybody show up?
Yes, sir, they did.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy with that?
Yeah.
No problem?
2 of the 4 neighbors, one, excuse me, Thornton B. Roth. You folks might know him from the B. Roth gas stations, him and his brothers. He originally sold the land to me, and he still owns just a wooded piece that he's been asking me to buy for 5 years now. But he's just got a little wooded piece there. I talked to Pam, his wife. They know what we're doing, but they didn't come out to see what we were doing. They know the land.
Planning board approved this unanimously, did they?
Yes, they did. And I would like to add that he's fulfilled every obligation as far as the ordinance is concerned and is in compliance.
I'll go ahead and make a motion if the chairman wants to.
Yep.
Stokes County Commissioners approved the rezoning request by Greg and Katie Nice to rezone approximately 5.58 plus or minus acres from RA residential agriculture to HB highway business at 1664 East Old Phillips Road in Pinnacle, North Carolina, parcel number 5983-04-9068. Motion has been made by me on behalf of the commissioners because this supports the Stokes County 2035 Comprehensive Plan. It is business and the business-friendly initiative. And this proposal also provides potential tax base increase due to the expansion of commercial property, and it is reasonable and in the public interest.
Second that motion.
Any further discussion?
I would just say we appreciate you bringing business to the county.
Yes.
Bring some more if you want to later.
We might. Let's cross fingers for everybody.
All in favor?
It's a tough time.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Maybe we'll open a restaurant over here too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your restaurant in Mount Airy?
We own a place called Mikasa on Main Street. It's a little taco bar.
Oh, yeah, I eat in there quite a bit. Yeah,
Yeah. I built that for my daughters about 5 years ago.
yeah, they got great food and good service.
Thank you. We opened a nice little cocktail lounge right behind it. That's sort of like a
I can admit to
speakeasy.
that.
Want to get someone to drive you home, I guess.
It's up to you if you want to stay.
I think I'm gonna go take care of
I
that.
think you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got mean bees out there, be careful. Right before I came in, thanks for your help.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Yeah, I got stung out there by a wasp, and I told him, I said, look, if it starts running, you bother.
Do you want to do the next one, Eric?
Yes, number 3.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So item number 3 is a request by the planning department. We're requesting an amendment to the Stokes County ordinance to allow a stick-built, single-family dwelling, modular, or single-wide, double-wide mobile home as an accessory to the principal dwelling in residential zoning districts conforming to Environmental Health, North Carolina Building Code, Stokes County ordinance, and HOA regulations, and to remove formal ordinance pertaining to accessory mobile homes. If at this time, I'd be happy to read you the ordinance. Okay. So accessory dwelling, standards for accessory dwellings. Only one accessory dwelling shall be permitted on a tract containing a single-family dwelling unit, the principal dwelling unit, and conforming accessory structures in any single-family zoning district. Accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, shall conform to the following standards. Accessory dwellings shall not be considered a separate unit for the purpose of determining minimum lot size or maximum density. Home occupations allowed under the zoning district of the principal dwelling may be located within the accessory dwelling. However, the accessory dwelling shall not be used for the sole purpose of an occupation. The maximum gross floor area for the ADU or accessory dwelling unit shall be 1,500 square feet. The minimum gross floor area for the ADU shall be 210 square feet and must meet the minimum requirements of the North Carolina State Residential Building Code. The accessory dwelling may be located within an attached or detached garage or attached detached from the principal dwelling. Accessory dwellings attached to the principal dwelling shall be of like construction. Connection of a manufactured structure to the principal dwelling shall not be allowed. A secondary drive may provide access to the accessory dwelling. The use of travel trailers, campers, or similar units as an ADU are prohibited. In the RA zoning district, manufactured mobile homes would be allowed as accessory dwelling units. Maximum gross floor area standards would not be applicable, minimum square footage of 800 square feet. The use of Class A and Class B mobile homes as an accessory dwelling are only allowed in the RA zoning district on a minimum lot size of 2 acres. Mobile homes as accessory dwellings shall conform to all standards set forth in this ordinance and must conform to RA zoning setbacks. The design and construction of the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be compatible with the design and construction of the principal dwelling unit. To ensure compatibility, the following standards shall be met. The design of the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be of the same architectural style as that of the principal dwelling unit. The roof style and pitch of the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be the same as that of the principal dwelling unit. The exterior building materials used for the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be the same as those used for the principal dwelling unit. When the principal dwelling unit is predominantly brick or stone, the use of smooth wood or fibrous cement siding for the accessory structure housing the ADU is appropriate to reinforce the secondary nature of the ADU. Windows and doors for the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be of the same style and design of those used for the principal dwelling unit. Window and door placement on the accessory structure housing the ADU shall mimic those of the principal dwelling unit. Exterior paint colors for the accessory structure housing the ADU shall be the same as or complementary to those for the principal dwelling unit. In the RA zoning district, manufactured mobile homes would be allowed as ADUs. Maximum gross floor area standards would not be applicable. The accessory dwelling shall not be deeded and or conveyed separate or distinct ownership separately from the principal dwelling unit unless there is sufficient property to be surveyed to meet all minimum property size, zoning ordinance, environmental health codes, and minimum North Carolina building codes. Accessory dwellings are allowed in residential zoning districts but must conform to the North Carolina Residential Code for single-family dwellings and are subject to environmental health regulations pertaining to the zoning district where the accessory dwelling will be constructed, subdivision regulations, deed restrictions, HOA restrictions, and regulations where applicable. And it goes on to list the residential zoning districts where those would be allowed. Adequate off-street parking shall be provided for any vehicles owned by occupants of the accessory dwelling. Such parking areas shall not include grass or turfed areas. Setbacks for accessory dwellings are as follows. The front setback will be equal to the minimum front, rear, and side setbacks imposed generally upon those in the same zoning classification. Accessory dwellings must have a permanent continuous masonry foundation or masonry curtain wall installed under the perimeter of the homes. This ordinance would replace Stokes County zoning ordinance 80.1, which is page 42, under the paragraph stating single section manufactured homes used in an accessory structure on tracts of 10 acres or larger as it pertains to a 2-year temporary permit. This will also replace ordinance in the list of permitted uses for RA zoning district under manufactured home on individual lots. Page 43 stating single section homes used in an accessory structure on 10 acres or larger shall be issued a temporary permit valid for a period of 2 years. The next page is just simply examples of accessory dwelling units. And that is the ordinance.
This was approved by the planning board.
Yes, ma'am.
What drove the request?
What drove the request is that we were getting so many calls from people that would have, let's just say 50 acres or 20 acres or 10 acres, and they couldn't put a second home on there without subdividing the property in order to do so. And so basically what I saw was a need to bring in an ordinance for accessory dwellings versus what we've had in the past, which was accessory mobile homes, which was designed basically for migrant workers to come out for farming, those kinds of things. And then the only thing that we have in the ordinance now is the accessory mobile homes. There's nothing provided for a stick-built home to be an accessory structure on a property. So it just made sense to me, and it seems to make sense to a lot of people and the citizens in the county that they should be able to have an accessory dwelling on their property.
If, and you may have already answered this question in that, but what about, so this wouldn't pertain to people who would want to build an accessory dwelling that they were gonna use to rent out like a Airbnb or would it?
It's not necessarily designed for that, but I couldn't see any reason to restrict them from, I mean, they could rent a house out anywhere, honestly. And as far as Airbnb is concerned, I'm not sure there's really any difference as far as rental property is concerned. There may be tax-wise, I don't know.
I could see some neighbors not wanting somebody to build an accessory dwelling and then start renting it out to different people every week.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that being problematic in some areas. So,
One thing I'd like to see, and if it's not unreasonable, is to have an ordinance like this that could have unintended consequences. Like I said, I don't know what they are. I'd like to, before we approve this, see this coordinated with Richard, with the Register of Deeds, with the Fire Marshal, and maybe some other departments that are all play in this same arena, just to make sure that there's not something in here that we're missing, you know, that they would pick up on related to tax or collection or related to the way the deeds are done, or, you know, all the things that those departments are responsible for, instead of us approving it and then them coming up and saying, we can't do this because of X, Y, Z. So unless you've already done that.
Well, yeah, I've done a lot of research on it. Can I add
Means you
something?
coordinate it with the other departments.
So, where I came from, not that everything was done completely right, you know, we did our best. We had accessory dwelling ordinance for years. And I can honestly stand up here and tell you that the concerns you have, while they are valid, we never ran into that I'm aware of. And I was in the position to approve that accessory dwelling. And as long as it met the guidelines set forth in the ordinance, we didn't have any problem with that. Many other jurisdictions in the area already have this, basically the exact same ordinance as what I'm describing right now, and they deal with success. I've never heard a complaint from the accessory dwelling ordinance that we had, and like I said, we had it for years, and we still do, or they do rather, in Lee County and in other jurisdictions as
I
well.
like the idea of kind of relaxing restrictions on people, but like I said, if there's something that sneak up and bite us, I'd like to know about that ahead of time too. You know, I'm thinking like you cut a parcel out, then that gives the tax guys a parcel and a building and everything to work with. What they got, how they gonna do this? I mean, how is there an issue there? You know, I don't know if there is or not. But
So in other words, what they're wanting to do, this case specifically, could be done. They would just have to survey out a separate little piece of land for this other dwelling.
Absolutely.
It's just to avoid having to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I don't know if anybody's paid for a survey lately, and again, I have
there are
no.
plenty of
You
them.
have, so. But again, just for the record, I'm not against surveying and those kinds of things. So I just want to make that known straight off the bat. But for citizens that that would like to have a secondary dwelling, or what they call a granny flat, or a place for their loved one that needs medical attention, and I do get those calls as well. This is something that would make life easier for people like that. And honestly, I believe for the citizens of Stokes County, I believe they deserve to be able to have an ordinance like this to be able, I mean, you know our lot sizes. A lot of times we don't have small ones. They might have 10 acres. They might have 5, and that's a small lot. You know, that type of thing. But right now, they have to hire a surveyor to come in and cut out just an acre for their loved one to be on. And they have to spend the extra money to do that. However, I do see, you know, your point there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of in violent agreement with trying to do something to accomplish what this does, as long as there's not a hidden trap in it with one of those other departments. I'd like to at least know that, have them review it.
Could we do something though for this specific case?
For this specific case, right now, the only thing that we can do for this gentleman is to survey out a lot for him to put on.
And we
the
do
property.
something like, and again, this ain't my forte, so
Right.
excuse me.
If you do it for one, you gotta do it for everybody.
Well, what's a variance called? What's that mean? If we
A
adopt an
variance
variance?
would constitute a hardship.
What's
And in this
hardship to
case,
me?
it's you know, I would argue that, you know, you can call just about anything a hardship. In this case, I don't feel like personally that it qualifies for that. And professionally, I don't feel like it does either. I feel like, but I do feel like that this would be an ordinance and a way to get him what he needs without spending extra money that I personally feel is he shouldn't have to do.
I'm not saying when having it reviewed to take a long time. I'm saying review it tomorrow and stick it on the next budget meeting and
Yeah,
we'll approve it or something.
I would like to see added that the accessory building cannot be rented.
Accessory building, oh, the accessory dwelling.
Yes, I can see that, you know. Better cover your butt.
I mean, how long would that, I mean, so,
What's the basis for not renting it though, if you don't build it?
Well, because you're
that's-
gonna build it, if you
That
got
may
a
be how they-
mother-in-law you gotta look after, or if you gotta look, if your daughter built a house out here and you needed care, she'll put you next door instead of being in the house. So,
I'm saying, what if I wanna build one and I wanna rent it to pay for it?
well, then that's a different ballgame. You can
I
afford
personally
the-
think-
you can afford the survey.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Oh,
yeah, what I'm saying is, I don't,
I can tell you surveying has gone out the roof. I was shocked when I got my bill.
Ain't one thing it ain't went out the roof.
we're gonna have the surveyors in our next meeting.
Way out. This went way out the roof.
Public comment.
I talk to the surveyors every single day.
sir, is it gonna hamper you a lot if we delay this just by,
Well, I'm trying to get construction authorization. The perk test is already passed, so, Billy Young called me and she's wanting to know if, I'm coming by to pick up the CA. So, surveying's gonna cost around $2,000 for cutting out a track.
And right now, my department can't give them a CA because of the way the ordinance reads.
well, can we get a variance tonight for this gentleman? For hardship?
I better get a legal response to that.
Mr. Chandler, can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those things, like we mentioned before, as far as looking at it from the perspective of the department's concerned, I think if we do it for one, then we're gonna have a lot of people wanting to do it.
His phone's gonna be ringing off the hook tomorrow.
We've got a budget meeting
Long story
Monday
short.
at 10. I mean, we could approve it then.
I'd rather do it on the commissioners meeting. We have one right after the budget meeting
Yeah.
if we could.
Yeah, it was
Just
on the
because it's
10th.
more appropriate, because I know our rules of procedures talk about regular meetings, not any other kind of special
Right,
meetings.
right. That's
Or
what
an
I was gonna say,
ordinance,
we've got
to talk
to,
about amending an ordinance, so I'd rather do it just for,
we can do it at the commissioners meeting Monday.
yeah, put it on discussion, then you can move it to action, because as long as, we have a unanimous majority, it can be moved to action and voted on at the same, at
Yeah.
that meeting.
Yeah,
You good with that, sir? Can you wait to
Monday,
June
Monday?
10th.
Sure.
Okay, okay.
I really want to approve it. I'm not trying to throw a
Right.
wrench in it,
Yeah, I
but
think we all
I've
are
been bitten by stuff.
favorable to it, for sure, we
It
just
won't take long to do this research and
make sure
talk
we're,
to the
Eric, you'll let me know. Absolutely. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
for sure.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
You
for your
said
time.
June the
Thank
10th?
you, for sure.
I've got a home closing on the 10th. Would you need me to be here for that?
No,
I
probably
don't think
not.
so.
It'd be
It would be
okay.
late anyway, it would be like at
It's a 6 o'clock
6 o'clock meeting.
As long as we have the documentation that that you followed up with, some of the questions that
With
Commissioner
Richard?
Amber could represent you for it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Amber can do it,
Okay.
yeah.
And make sure our attorneys are on board with it too.
Yeah, we'll check it
Okay,
through
very
legal
good.
and Richard, and all that. Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda Monday.
Just a footnote to that, I did send this to Ty, and the only thing he suggested is that we update the definitions, like the ADU definition.
It wouldn't hurt if you could pull a couple other counties' policies side by side to let us look at, just to see
Absolutely.
that they're,
Do most counties have this already, he said, or not? You know?
I don't know the exact number. Where I came from, we had it for years. And from what I'm seeing, yes.
I think it does make sense that people, sometimes do want to do something like this for a loved one that they have to take care of and want close by and things like that.
When the loved one passes on, they're going to want to do Airbnbs.
But now look, keep in mind, they're going to spend money at Stokes County.
I don't have a problem with that, as long as neighbors, I don't know, I think it depends on where it's at, like if it's in a,
I mean, we already have people doing Airbnbs and the neighbor thing, and that kind of takes care of itself, it seems like.
yeah, I don't think it'd be a problem.
Problem is another area which maybe we'll get into sometimes, like tiny houses. People want to do those.
Yeah,
We don't allow those, I don't think, either, do we still? Or haven't
Everything,
changed anything, have
those
we?
types of things normally have to be engineered. And of course, we have a minimum size of structures in the North Carolina Building Code as well. So I think, with that being said, that it kind of takes care of itself as far as tiny homes are concerned. When people hear they have to have something engineered, it kind of turns them the other way.
I can pretty well speak to that. My son, that's one of my sons that was in the military. He builds tiny homes.
The thing people don't want is some kind of, have a nice neighborhood and some loophole that they can bring a camper in there and set it up and live in it and things like that, or it just messes up the whole rest of the neighborhood's values and everything.
This is not in Stokes County.
And of course, getting back to the HOA regulations, things of that nature exclude, those types of things as well.
Is there any other business?
Well, if not, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Well, sorry, I think, did you want to share any of those statistics from earlier that you had?
I
About
can.
The subdivisions and,
Yeah, I can.
I mean, do you have copies for everyone or anything?
Thanks for coming.
One question, did I miss something? When's this thing gonna be talked about again about that tire?
August 6th.
August 6th.
Yep.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
You too.
If you have it prepared, if not, we can do it
Yeah,
later.
I do.
but-
I have copies. Actually, have copies for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it.
So the numbers that I have, I got in touch with John over in the city of King,
And he gave me some numbers as to what they're looking at for subdivisions, things of that nature. And like I said, I have a copy for everyone. This is what,
Thanks.
got you.
That'd be good.
Appreciate it.
This is the first part of it.
It's just part of it.
That's just part of it, yeah. And let's see. What I'm giving you now are numbers that are broken down by the townships. And it shows businesses as well as residences.
Thank you.
What this is a graphic view, GIS prepared as well, just to kind of give you a visual. The difference between 2023 and 2024.
Thanks.
So when you track, so like when someone comes in to get a permit to either build a business or build a residence, so typically, are you able to tell if they're moving from outside of Stokes County? They obviously don't have probably an address yet. If they bought some property and trying to build. Is there a way that you can, track how many if we're selling the lots to people outside of Stokes County, or we're selling them inside Stokes County? Where, hey, I want to sell my starter home, and I want to, kids are getting ready to get out the door, or whatever. I want to, upgrade a little bit. Or is it people that, that are coming from New York, Pennsylvania, or other parts of North Carolina to build?
Generally, I think how to answer that.
It's tough.
That is very tough. We don't track that, obviously. And I'm trying to think of the best way to track that. Not sure I have an adequate answer for you as far as that's
Just
concerned.
look into it for me.
Absolutely.
Just to see what
Absolutely.
we can do. Because, it's what may be happening, and I hope not, but maybe happen is there's not enough new people moving inside from outside Stokes County into Stokes County to increase the numbers, because we still got people leaving Stokes County, the kids.
Okay.
In other words, they're not staying here, and so we're just looking at we're not filling up the complete county. We're just looking at certain areas that people are either moving to, maybe coming from outside the county.
I can tell you just from the people that come in our business that are new to King area, it is people moving from outside of our county and our state even into King area. It's not just people selling a small house to get a bigger house. It's lots of new.
Yeah, I think you real estate people can answer that question.
Yeah, they could.
I tend to agree with that,
Yeah.
simply because of the people that I talk to that talk about, they have this tract of land, they're talking about moving. Of course, we haven't tracked those numbers because it's just a conversation basically whenever they call in.
Yeah.
But I would have a tendency to agree with that.
Help.
Yeah, there's.
I know in the Meadows area,
Lots of
there's
new
a lot of people coming in from out of state.
Yeah, I think a lot lot of it is. I'm not saying all of it is.
We have a lot of people from Fayetteville.
No, God love them.
From Sanford.
Patriots.
Now, look, though, I'm not sure how I feel about the increase in the taxes, though, since I'm trying to buy houses. We
Sorry.
gotta do what we gotta do, don't
Sorry,
we?
brother. Yep.
Well, I'm gonna try it one more time. Nobody else has got any other business. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion